If we want to become more intelligent leaders, we have to become masters at communicating and masters at maintaining and building relationships.
Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast, a Ben Kinney training production, where we discuss the concepts of health, wealth, leadership, and legacy. My name is Chad Himes, and I am joined by my friend Bob Stewart. Bob, what's our word for today?
Relationships.
It's a very powerful word. Now, Bob, we are getting into the last part of our emotional intelligence conversation with Ben. We did an overview of the concepts, and then we broke it down into the 5 unique pieces that make up emotional intelligence, from self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and today we're going to talk about social skills. Now, on the last episode, Bob, we did talk about the EQ test. And we want everyone to know that, yes, you can go and Google an EQ test and you will get over 372 million results. We're sure there's a really good test in there somewhere.
Yeah, if there's not, like, shame on Google.
there's probably some way if you want to test yourself and set a baseline for where your emotional intelligence currently is as you use the skills we're hopefully sharing with you to be able to improve. Now, Bob, your word was relationship. Tell us a little bit more about that before we jump into today's episode.
Well, this idea of social skills, as Ben's going to, eloquently explain to us in here, is this idea that I can influence people, right? I can start to lead myself, right? As we go through this whole kind of EQ, right? We start to understand ourselves, manage ourselves. Then we start to understand the feelings and the emotions of others, empathy, right? And ultimately, it's all leading to this idea that we can then influence them with these skills, these social skills that we may or may not have, right? Relationships as a component of this is massively important. And so you're gonna hear inside of this discussion, you, me, and Ben all bringing up these examples of where relationships and our ability to influence people, or Ben's ability to influence people, has really been about that relationship. And so it's just, to me, as I listen to the call today, that's a central theme. And so that's why I want to highlight it and have you guys kind of paying attention to that.
Our goal through this series and all of our episodes is to develop that relationship with you, our audience. And we hope that you enjoy this, our final piece of the emotional intelligence conversation, social skills with Ben. All right, Ben, we're back for the last part of the emotional intelligence conversation. We have been diving deep into the 5 parts that make up emotional intelligence, which were self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and today we're going to talk about social skill. So why don't you give us that definition again so we can dive into this conversation deeper?
Yeah, emotional intelligence, element 5, social skill. It's our ability to build rapport with others so that we can move them in a desired direction. In my world, Chad, that's helping them accomplish their goals while also accomplishing the company's goals. Our ability to build rapport will determine how great of a leader we really are and how many people follow us and for how long. You'll look at an organization and people will say, should I go work for this company? And say, I don't know that company. But let me ask you a question. How many people follow that leader? How long has their longest person been working there, right? Do you see a track record of people staying there, or is it an organization where people always come and go? If so, there could be that the leader doesn't care about their people. They have no ability to build rapport. They have no ability to help people move closer to accomplishing their goals. People with strong social skills, they're typically great leaders. They don't focus on their own successes, Chad. They help others develop themselves. They help others accomplish their own goals. These types of people with a high emotional intelligence in the area of social skills, they manage disputes. They manage conflicts. They're great communicators. They're masters at maintaining and building relationships. I think there is a certain level of born with God-given skill set, but I also think that this is a muscle that has to be developed, right? Are you studying relationships and people and communication and conflict resolution? Can you think of a book that relates to this subject?
We can think of hundreds of books. You mentioned in our overview at first was John Maxwell's 5 Levels of Leadership was one of those books.
That would be a great one. He also wrote one about communication.
Sure.
One of the ones I think about, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
The classic.
There's another book out there called Simply Said. Simply Said is how do you clearly communicate a message? And when people come to our trainings or they listen to our podcasts or come to our events or watch our YouTube videos, what I hear most often is you simplify complex things. You shorten it down into a sentence or a paragraph that I can actually understand.
Because we're not that smart.
Right. Yeah. We care about communicating. We've become great communicators because we simplify the message. If we want to become more intelligent leaders, we have to become masters at communicating and masters at maintaining and building relationships.
I mean, this, to me, this is like just a fact of life, right? Like the idea that you're going to be a more effective leader if you're good at getting people to like buy in, find common ground, right? Move them in a desired direction. Like that's literally everything you do every day. You said something, you said it's a muscle we can build. So this is a really important muscle, it would seem. How do you build it? Like what are you doing with your people, or how are you helping your leaders develop this muscle?
Bench press again?
Bench press, for sure.
Bench press.
We are working on developing our communication skills. We're working on developing how to start relationships and maintain relationships. I remember an early book that probably an ex-girlfriend gave me, the 5 Love Languages.
Yeah,
Great book. Right? Yeah. And they wrote it for work and all that kind of stuff. And, in the 5 love languages, they talk about people tend to show love in the way they like to receive love, not in the way the person likes to receive love. And the love languages, if you guys remember, was touch, right? They know that you love them because you hug them and hold them and cuddle them and kiss them, right?
Definitely your level, right? That's yours, Ben?
Definitely not mine.
Yeah.
Number 2, right? There would be things like
quality time.
Quality time. They know that you love them because you spend time with them. Next one, acts of service. Mm-hmm. I know that you love me, Chad, because you will make me bacon, right? And if you make me bacon, I will know, right? I know that you love me because you take the garbage out, because you mow the lawn, because you do the dishes, because you make me dinner.
Right.
Right? What's another one of the 5
words
levels?
Of affirmation?
Yeah. I know you love me, Bob, because you tell me that you love me, and you tell everybody that you love me. Like you say, I love you, Ben. You are awesome, right? And last one?
Gifts.
Yes. I know you love me, Bob, because you give me camo. You get you get me cheeseburgers. Like you get me cool gifts. Like I know you love me because of that. Well, you think about it in business. People know that you care in some of the same ways. For me, it's they know you care because you pay them. Some people are motivated by getting paid and getting paid more. Some people are motivated by recognition. They know that you love them because you go in front of everybody and says, Chad's awesome. This is what Chad just accomplished, right? You know you love them because you give them prizes. I got employees that will not work for a $10,000 commission, but they would jump out of a window naked for an iPad. Right?
Can't believe they're still jumping out that window for that iPad.
Years and years
later.
Years and years, they will still do it for a prize. And I have other people that are really motivated. All I got to do is walk up and say, Bob, you're doing really good. You're just right behind Chad. And then I walk away, and I know that, heck no, am I going to let Chad, that knucklehead, beat me, right? They're driven competition. And some of them are driven and motivated by fear. I love you, Chad. Don't confuse this for not loving you. But if you don't get things done, we're going to have to part ways, right? And you figure out what is it that's going to allow you to help these people get results, right? And maintain strong relationships. It's not about them liking you all the time. my people don't always like me all the time. You guys don't always like me all the time.
That's a fact.
But I know, but I know that you guys know that I care.
Yeah.
I know that if you said if I was going through something personally, I would show up. I know that if you needed something financially, you know that I would show up. If you needed me to watch your kids, I would hire somebody to do it for you. You know that I would ensure.
Thankfully, mine's a safe age.
That I would ensure that everything was taken. I got your back, right?
You know,
That's what building relationships is about.
yeah, and what you're talking about here, Ben, is you mentioned it in our brief overview episode where we talked about emotional intelligence and we summed this all up. You mentioned John Maxwell's 5 levels of leadership, and you mentioned that number 1, that position leadership level, as you were talking about. Well, it sounds to me like what you're talking about is now getting that permission level. It's moving us to level 2, which is now we're building those relationships, which allows me to tell you, hey, I'm going to follow you. You now have permission to be my leader because you've cared enough and built that relationship.
Yeah, the permission level of John Maxwell's book says that people follow you because they want to. Right? They want to do that. And if you're lucky enough to move up those levels to level 3, the results level is people follow you because what you've done for the organization. They see that you've been successful and they want to be like you. And then the level 4, which I think shows up a lot in this relationship conversation and building rapport, is people follow you because of what you've done for them, right? I have people that in our company, they come to tour our company and they start asking people, well, why are you still here? You could go do this on your own. You could go sell XYZ. You could go build this. Why are you still here? And they're always surprised by the answer. One person said, it's because when my father passed away, Ben was the first one that morning to go take a hike with me. He showed up. And another person said, when I didn't pass my exam to get my license multiple times, Ben kept encouraging me and kept paying for it and kept telling me that I could do it. Turned into one of our top producers in our companies, right? They know that we believe in them. That builds a relationship that those people cannot be recruited away. But the ability to build rapport and the ability to show people that you care, it is a skill set, right? We tend to say, well, I pay them. They should know that I care. I pay them every 2 weeks. Every check always comes. Yeah, then they should know that I love them. That's not how everybody receives love. Now, what I think about is how do I build social skill so that you guys trust me enough to follow me into this new desert that we're going into, right? Because you know that it's a way for you to take care of your family and accomplish your goals, right? And you trust us. In order to do that, we would have to have a special type of relationship.
When you start a relationship with somebody, how are you developed? Like just from the beginning, what does this look like? Is it just getting like? You recruit a lot of talent into our world. And one of the things that I hear you talk a lot about is that it's a long process, but like you'll talk about the first time you meet somebody, spending an entire day with them and very rarely asking them about their business, right? Like you're just digging in on their life. But like, what does this look like in the beginning of a relationship?
Yeah, I think in the beginning of a relationship, Bob, I will say almost nothing about myself. We'll spend the entire day and all I've done is ask questions. I'm sitting back and asking them questions about them, their life. Who's in their life, what's important to them, what do they want personally, what do they want financially, what are their dreams, what are their goals, right? What do they want health-wise? I want to know this whole picture of who they are. Usually when I'm done with that, the biggest comment, most common comment I get is nobody's ever asked me the questions that you've asked me before. My response is normally, well, how do you feel about that? Is that weird? You worked at a company for 10 years and they never once asked you what you wanted? Is that weird to you? But I did it on my first day before you've even agreed to work with us, right? And they look up and they say, well, this person must care. This is different. Isn't it kind of shitty that our competitive advantage is that we ask people questions about what they want out of their career and what they want out of their life?
That's maybe a shitty commentary on just how we all, how most people show up in the work world.
Yeah. What most companies do is they walk in and they say, this is my goal. This is what we are going to accomplish, right? And they talk about the company's goal. I walk into there and I say, well, what's your goal? And what's your goal, right? And if I add up everybody's goal, that should accomplish the company's goal. If not, I don't have enough people, or I have the wrong people, or I haven't helped them, my people identify what their goals are, right, in the right direction. I haven't built enough rapport to move them in this desired direction that we call social skill.
So talk about that moving people. You can't push, you can't pull. Not everyone moves the same. You talked about that with love languages and knowing how to maybe motivate some of those people. Talk a little bit more, Ben, about this, helping people move in the desired direction. Give us an example of someone that you've helped do that.
It's a hard question to answer, Chad, because I do it every single day. Like, that's my job, is to help people move closer to their own personal goals. Literally every single day. In fact, I came up with a model that we'll probably talk about on another podcast called Goal Value Plan. And that's where I first identify their goals. And then I explain how the value of what I offer or what our company can do will help them to accomplish those goals. And then lastly, I come up with a plan on what they could do first and then what they could do next to get them closer to making that a reality. And I'm coaching them through this step-by-step process. But I start first clearly identifying the goals, then talking to them about what I could do to help them do that or how our company could be a part of it. And then we come up with a plan. Lastly, is your company creating an atmosphere and a culture where communication flows both ways and people feel safe doing it? If not, you're never going to be able to build rapport. Do your people have permission to say, this isn't right, this isn't good? Otherwise, it's going to be a fake relationship. You're going to feel like you have a good culture, but everybody talks behind your back because you haven't created that safe place where they feel like they can share and talk about their grievances or the disputes or their issues or their goals or their dreams.
I think that's been one of the maybe different things about working with you is I literally have no issue venting any kind of frustration or like anything your way, which maybe is unfair to you, but it's just the culture around here, and you've just set this environment up that makes it really easy to come to you with that stuff. The challenge, I don't want to always come to you with that stuff, right? It forces me to say, look, if I had half the time I'm going to bring Ben the stuff, I got to bring him something good too, right? But
we built enough rapport together that both of you guys would show me the properties that you're going to buy before you buy it. Like, what do you think about this? Like, is this the right price? Is this a good deal? We would talk about our retirement or our financial decisions, or we would talk about our relationship struggles or what we're working through, whatever those things might be, because I've built enough rapport with the people that are within arm's reach of me that we all feel good about that. Now, our challenge is we're all the people that report to me, are they going to create the same thing with their people? And how do we ensure that? How do I ensure that the relationship that I have with you guys and the other leaders in our companies, that they create the same type of relationship with their people? Because if you do, you'll have an incredibly emotionally intelligent organization.
And dedicated and not recruitable, right? Like, the stuff you do locks people into our world. And not in a bad way either, but like I want to stay here because I feel like I matter.
Yeah. People say it's a little cultish, right? There's something weird about that. We're all wearing the same logos, the same T-shirts. Like, we all talk the same languages. We use the same jokes. Like, we're all this weird culture. And I'm proud of that because it's not my culture. It's our culture. It's been created by each one of us. And an emotionally intelligent leader understands that they have to be self-aware. They understand that they have to regulate their behaviors. They understand that they have to be motivated for the right reasons and for the right things. They have to be empathetic, and they have to build their social skills. As you listen to the rest of our podcasts and our lessons, you'll see that lots of our subjects are going to touch on different elements as we dig deeper into becoming a better leader, right? More financially secure, more healthy, right? More giving in legacy. you'll see these subject matters show up time and time again.
You'll also hear cheeseburgers and bacon a lot for some reason.
And camo.
Yeah.
Well, until the next time we get that opportunity to hear about cheeseburgers, bacon, and camo, thank you, Ben, for sharing your take on the emotional intelligence conversation with us and with the audience. We look forward to hearing what's next. This has been a heck of a series, Bob, and we just finished it up talking about social skills as a piece of emotional intelligence. Wow. What was your big takeaway from that conversation with Ben?
I love this one. I thought one of the first things that's kind of ringing in my ears, just like the idea. I've been really, really lucky, Chad. Really fortunate in this arena. I haven't had too many career changes, but I've had a lot of leaders. Been, worked with a lot of people, but a lot of leadership. I can't remember ever having a bad leader from this angle, from the social skills angle. I really can't. All of the people I've worked with have been really good at using those social skills to influence, to motivate, to get people to move to action. And I just feel really lucky. Like I think back, you and I were at a conference recently, and there was a gal that stood up in that conference, and she was asking for help in how to deal with her leader, the person that led her. And she was talking about like some of the words. I don't know that she used these words, but she was fearful of this person almost. Sure. And she talked about how this person kind of threw their weight around and was like, and she did like, and I just think, man, I've been so lucky. Like I haven't, I've got to work with Ben for the last 5 or 6 years, and I've known him for a long. Jonathan Washburn, the guy I spent a long career with before that, even when I was young, 18, 20, and just had kind of odd random jobs, like all of the people that I've worked for and the leaders that I've been able to learn from have really shown this. I don't know if it's naturally, because it doesn't seem like it would be, right? But they've either developed this skill or they just naturally have this skill. So man, I've been super lucky in that regard.
And Bob, you just said something right there. You said develop this skill. And that was my takeaway from Ben during this conversation, is that it's another muscle. It's learning to be a better communicator. It's learning to have these skills. It's learning to be able to develop that relationship you mentioned at the top of this podcast episode, where we were talking about having strong relationships. It's developing all of those things through those social skills.
One of the other things you just mentioned, being a better communicator, and something else that maybe popped for me really is that idea of simplifying your message. He talked in here about, we keep our messages in our world, in Ben's world, really simple. Like, anybody can give you our mission, vision, values statements. They're very concise, but they're simple so that we can go out and kind of live those things. Chad, this has been a really awesome series. This will probably be, as we go back, this will be one that I listen to a lot personally. I hope that the audience found some real value in these last couple of episodes.
Yeah, and I think you and I could just keep ping-ponging back on ahas we kept taking from this conversation, because there's just so many in there as we go. So we hope you are getting those out there. Oh, Bob, side note, I have heard from the lady at that conference, and she had the conversations, and things are moving forward in a very powerful way for her with her leader. So she has helped that leader develop some more emotional intelligence.
Awesome, right? So we can grow.
There you go.
We can
it's
grow.
a muscle, and it can be grown. Okay, so we are coming to an end then of our emotional intelligence series. If you missed any pieces of it, go back. Like Bob had said, it might be one of these series to kind of make a note of and always be able to come back to. We had the overview episode for you, and then we went deep on each of the pieces of emotional intelligence, from self-awareness to self-regulation to motivation to empathy, and then today with social skills. We know you got ahas out there, and we look forward to hearing what those were from you. Until our next episode, if you aren't subscribed, make sure that you go visit winmakegive.com to get subscribed, or wherever you subscribe to podcasts. And until then, please remember to do good.